Supercover. Great cars and a great deal more.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting adventure. You join me walking along the, I suppose formerly the main road between sort of Dumfries and Carlisle, just past Gretna, probably about a mile out of Gretna, a mile south. And I'm walking to my Triumph Dolomite, which did the indignity of destroying its own engine a fortnight ago while going along the A74, thus leaving me stranded. So today is a recovery mission of sorts, whereby I'm going to try and get it back up the road with the aid of the RAC. Its final resting place is pretty much directly opposite Gretna services on the motorway, but I wasn't actually going along the motorway, I was going along the A road. Although I suppose at this point it is actually the A74, not the M74. Regardless, anyway. Basically, the main story is that I was driving along and the engine went from sounding like this to quite a lot more like this. And that signified the fact that a big end bearing had made its escape, and that was rather the end of that engine, unfortunately. And obviously I didn't have breakdown recovery because I'm not the sort of man who pays out money for things that I never use. And of course it was 11:30 at night on a Tuesday. Anyway, a long story short, I tried to limp it to a position of safety down the back road, sort of southwards, and I made it. The car initially broke down at Lockerbie. I made it down back roads to just outside Gretna, and then the engine completely launched itself, which is understandable given that I'd done about 30 miles with a missing big end bearing and no oil pressure. Cross the road again. So yeah, I now have an RAC membership, so I can go back and be recovered, because I need to put a new engine in my car now. Oh well, at least it's a nice day for a walk. Oh hello, look what we have here. It's an exploded Triumph Dolomite. What a coincidence, I was looking for one of them. A bit grubby, but oh well. Now to phone the RAC and get recovered. So then I was towed by a man with a van, where I was then transferred to a man with a lorry, who then drove me all the way back to Glasgow. No video of this because it was hideously boring. Then I washed the car, covered it in tinsel, and forgot about it until just about now. Hello, so you join me in the mighty Dolomite. It is now early February. February 4th, I believe. 4th. About to start stripping down the engine, ready for it being removed and swapped with one that's slightly less fucked. So today's job is essentially stripping off ancillaries, alternator, starter, carburetor, battery, wiring, etc, etc. So let's see how we get on with that. Just to prove that I spare absolutely no expense on my tools, here's my 30-odd-year-old Kamasa tool set, ratchet set, with most of its parts, and some of them from another cheap socket set because I broke a few. Broke / lost. Selection of cheap screwdrivers and pliers and WD-40 and... Where's my spanner set? This pile of rubbish is not part of my tools, in that it probably has more financial value. I must have left my spanners in the car. There they were, hiding in the boot. Draper Imperial spanner set. And that's basically all you need to dismantle this entire car. Can't really think of anything else you'd need. Let's get started. Right. First of all, we've got the battery. Oh dear. It's a bit stuck. Yep. I can never quite remember which way around you're supposed to take the terminals off, so I simply do it however I want. The problem is having everything sat out here in the cold, everything rusts remarkably quickly. Put that back on there for safekeeping. I think we'll take off the alternator next. Way. So, a half-inch spanner up here, I believe. Yep. Interestingly, the thread on the bolt hole for the alternator, the actual hole on the alternator itself is threaded. I don't know if that's a standard feature or if it's just something on the aftermarket ones that... It's a bit tight. Need to get a socket on that. Mostly, I want to take all these parts off so I can take them inside and clean them. Ready to be fitted to the other engine when that gets fitted in. Or when that gets installed, I should say. So I may as well make a start on it now.
I also feel like if I do this again, I just feel the urge to take it off. But all I need to actually take the rest of it out.
would be a good idea for me to remember how this goes. So, cylindrical spacer, and this main block, that bush tapped through to be tight. That's the exact sort of thing that I'd usually forget and put back together backwards. One long bolt. Oh, my back. 27 years old, I'm already too old for this. No, I should just slide off to the course of right. Bit of jiggling. Oh, that corrosion on the... Bloody hell. Very, very tight. There we go. However, where the cylindrical spacer went, I have no idea. Underneath the car in the rubbish somewhere. Better find that. Naturally, after scrabbling around in the filth, I find that the spacer has conveniently got caught on the subframe. Of course. So now I'm taking off the carb, taking off the breather pipe, bloody camera strap, taking off the breather pipe and the fuel intake going in to the fuel chamber. So now it is that bolt and one diagonally opposite underneath, and it should just lift off. So far the only fitting size I've used is 1/2 inch, which is the vast majority of fittings on this car are 1/2 inch imperial fittings, which is very handy. Sometimes it'll throw a curveball at you and it'll be like 9/16 or something. And it will blow your mind with its added complexity. Washer and bottom. We'll have to pop off this throttle linkage actually, thinking about it.
Maybe pop and screwdriver. Maybe helps if I've done this before I start taking the carburetor off, but hey ho, 50/50 hindsight, isn't it? I'll make these mistakes so you don't have to. No damage.
Removing this entirely with the air filter still attached for simplicity's sake. Ooh. No, wash it. Should just pull off. There we go. Lovely. Again, largely for my own reference, for the wiring, we've got this wire going to the positive side of the coil, and then the negative side going to the distributor, and then of course the king lead. On the starter side of things, we've got this going into the loom from the top connection, this going straight to the live on the battery, this is the live straight to the starter, and then underneath we've got these two coloured cables here that attach like that. No idea what these do. Switch, and I think that one's a switch back to the ignition. Don't know what that is. I'm not a smart man. I should probably look in the book, but anyway, that's how it goes together. Remember that, me. For removing the distributor, I'm going to just remove the entire plinth that it's resting on, because that's much easier than trying to do it any other way. And the plinth itself is really badly bent and damaged. It's a nightmare to get onto the Dizzy, so I'd rather not take it off. Of course, the fittings are 1/2 inch. Still, so far, the only size of spanner I have used. One bolt. Keep them all together. Currently, whenever I remove a nut, I'm putting it back on the stud that it came off, or back onto the bolt that it came off, and trying to keep everything together. Hopefully, I'll be able to get hold of some bags and label everything up at some point. But for now, I'm doing things the lazy way. There we go. One. What is it? 45A, I think. Distributor. Lovely, lovely. It's looking bare already. Let's get rid of this plinth. This is the lower mounting point for the alternator. It also provides the engine earth point. Goodbye. Yeah, it will give me a good opportunity to clean all these parts and get some of them painted. I think like bits like this can be rust proofed and painted. Swapped onto the replacement engine when required. Hopefully everything will be transferable. The replacement engine that I should be getting is from a Spitfire. Should be pretty much identical to this. Well, that's the top bolt out of the starter. Now I have to get the bottom bolt, and that means going underneath the car. And that means it's time to deploy the carpet. That's a socket job. That's a bloody socket job. How on earth am I supposed to get into that? I need more bloody extender bars that I don't have, am I? No, to do this I'm going to have to jack up the car. I need more room and I need to be able to see what I'm doing. Mission failure, abort, abort. Yep, not enough room. I'll just have to jack up the car at some point, which is a problem because the car's on a hill. But fuck it, a problem for another day. Right, moving on to the next thing. Let's see if we can crack off the nuts for the manifold. For this one first. Okay, that's a good promising start. No, it's not. That's the fucking stud spinning. That's a good start. Great start. Wonderful. Marvellous. All the liquid is getting on everything. Okay. Right, this one's working, but then as to be expected, because that one was only put on quite recently. Okay, that one too has freed off. The end one has also freed off. Okay, so I lost one stud seems to be wanting to make a bid for freedom. I've lost my bloody extender bar again. At about that moment, my phone ran out of hard drive space, so I couldn't record anything else. Also, it got dark. So, yeah, I took a few more bits off the car and then came back inside for a cup of tea. Well, I'm back in doors, having finished today's work on the mighty Dolomite, and now I have very, very important tasks to do. Oh yes. Excellent. Right, so that marks the end of play for today. It is now just gone 6 o'clock, and yeah, I got a fair amount done. I was probably working for about an hour and a half, 2 hours on the car, and I've amassed a not inconsiderable pile of parts. And most of the ancillaries are off. I couldn't get the starter motor off because I couldn't access the lower bolt. I'd have to raise the car up, probably keep it on its wheels, but just bring it up on the suspension a little bit so I could get better access, and ideally an extra long extender bar, or indeed 2 extender bars for the socket set, would make life hundreds of times easier for getting at that. Other than that, there's not really a whole lot to come out. The radiator needs to come out, the coolant system needs to be drained, but aside from that, it's coming along quite well. And then I can get started into seeing if I can disconnect the engine and the gearbox, ready for the removal of the engine. So we'll see how that goes. Sadly, it has got dark. However, I shall show you a picture of what the inside of the engine bay of the Dolomite looks like there now. As you can see, it's quite a lot more empty than it was. Still a bit more wrestling with pipes and things to do to get the cooling system off. I had to chop through one of the heater hoses because the Julie clip was just one big solid lump of rust. So yeah, let's have a look at the parts that have been liberated from the car. Right, so one battery, one alternator and associated bracketry, one distributor, one mechanical fuel pump, one inlet manifold, one exhaust manifold. You'll notice that that has a snap stud, so that will need to be tapped out and rectified, and one carburetor and air filter and vacuum pipe. So yeah, getting there now. So here we can have a look at my extremely detailed engine strip down list, separated into remove and clean sections. I've removed quite a lot of stuff, so hopefully it won't be too long before the engine is ready to be kind of loosened up, ready for removal, and we'll just ignore all this stuff I need to do to the Acclaim and just pretend it doesn't exist. Right, signing off for now, going to enjoy my cup of tea and my biscuits. Excellent.